Hi guys, and welcome back to the first video of this series of videos. So I'm actually going to start a short series of character design videos, and I'm so excited about this because one of the things that I absolutely am like putting my foot down as far as things that I need to accomplish in 2017 is the first volume of a graphic novel. It's been something that I have always thought I'm going to do it, I want to do it, but I've never taken the steps to make it happen. There's been a few false starts, ones that I've kind of got going and then abandoned fairly quickly. So this year I feel like I am just a lot more dedicated than I have been in the past, and I'm ready to make it happen. So to get myself ready for that, I wanted to start getting back into the practice of designing good, strong characters. I used to do this a lot more where I focused on them and focused on the steps that it took to get to a very strong one, rather than just drawing a one-off character and then being done and having that be good enough. So this is me trying to work into that direction so that when I'm ready to start really designing out the characters that I'm going to be using, I can have that idea already in mind and I know what process works for me. So yeah, today is the first of a 3-video series where I'm going to design the same character, and we're going to be able to look at how it develops and some of the processes in this first video. I'm just focusing on getting my initial concept down. So I have an idea for this character and his personality, and this is what was just like in my head to begin with. I did look up some reference while I was working on him to sketch out some of the things that I already had in my head, but this one is just getting it out there. The second video will be where I take this and I take my idea and I take a lot more research and I do a lot of variations to his design. That's really the key to getting a very strong character design, is not settling to the first thing that works, is that you need to try out lots and lots of different things, a lot of variations, a lot of different things that build up into a much stronger piece. So I'm really excited about the second one. I think that's the one that will really push me past where I kind of am at this level right now. So yeah, like I said, this one is just like my first off one. Second one will be diving into really developing him out, getting the details correct, and also designing his prop. Because this character, he specifically is a bike messenger of the future. So I wanted him to have that vibe to him, but I want his bike that he's going to be using to be a lot more of a futuristic kind of a vehicle. So I either want it to be like a hover mechanism or some sort of interesting propulsion so that I can really have a lot of fun designing that element as well. So that will happen in the second video where I do a lot more of the detailing like that. And then the third video is just me doing a nice finished rendering of this character where I can really just get all the details finally done, make sure that he's colored all nice. And yeah, I feel like this will be a good step in the right direction to me following through with some of my concepts, even in this very small scope. I will have, at the end of this video, I'm going to do 4 different very quick color comps. So I would love to get your guys' opinion on which one you prefer. And yeah, if you have any suggestions on color comps, outside of what I did do, I'd love to hear your input down in the descriptions. But towards the end of this video, I will have a little card up in the corner where you can vote on which one is your favorite, and I'd love to hear that. And in the second video, I will also actually be looking for some of your input. So I think it'll be cool for these videos to be one where I can get your guys' input and we can see how it develops together. And before I even started, I knew that I wanted his body type to be very thin and kind of lithe. So I wanted to really emphasize like the curves in the forearm and the calves. I love when it's like this really exaggerated and sharp curves. I think it looks really interesting, and it kind of shows how the muscle and the bones are interacting in this really tight way. So that was something that I was showing a little bit more of. I also had a few specific details that I wanted to put in for him. So I wanted to make sure that his design really referenced his need. I mean, he's going to be riding on this device that's going to be moving a lot faster than a bike, but it's similar. So I knew that there were some elements that using a bike would transfer over, but there's also some that I needed to push a little bit more. So I knew that I wanted him to have some sort of goggles because he's going very fast, so he needed to protect his eyes. So I did that. That is also, every element of this design is something that I'm going to try multiple options of in the next video. But I knew that I wanted him to have a visor of sorts, and I wanted headphones so he could get like directions and addresses through it. And I also, this is one thing that I didn't think of before I started, but as I was doing research while I was working on him, I found this really cool reference of, it's actually like motocross armor for his shins and his knees. And I thought that looked so cool, and it would be really perfect for the general concept of what I wanted for him. So I'll actually have a link to some of the references that I used when I was drawing off this down in the description. I'll put it in a Pinterest board so you can look at all of that. But yeah, that's some of the sources of inspiration that I was finding. And also when I was looking at specifically bike messengers on Pinterest, I was finding that a lot of them had a lot of layering of clothing. So they'll have sometimes a little bit looser of clothing on top and then a slightly longer, tighter layer below it, even for their shirts and for their shorts. So that was one thing that I wanted to show in this one. I think that his pant design for this one is just not quite streamlined enough. Most of the clothing that I saw the bike messengers were wearing were pretty sleek, and they fit pretty well with their overall contour. They weren't like latex or spandex or anything, but they definitely had a little bit sharper of a profile than this one. So that's one thing that I can definitely improve on in the next video. And here I'm getting to the front view of him. So I've drawn the side and I wanted to do the front view. I love having turnarounds of characters. It's been a long time since I've done one, and I don't think I've ever done one well, but I always loved the look of having like a full character. I don't do a full turnaround in this video. I only do these two poses, but I feel like just doing those two really adds enough information for me to look at him and know who he is and what his overall aesthetic is. So that is definitely one thing that I will enjoy doing more of for this character and for other characters, is just really developing out all the angles of them, so that when I look at like multiple drawings that I've done of the same character and it actually looks like the same one, it's always extremely satisfying and rewarding. So I really like looking at this part where it is actually both of the characters, and I feel like it turned out and it actually looks like him. But one of the things that's really helpful when you're doing character turnarounds like this in Photoshop is you can use the guidelines. You can actually take your mouse up to the ruler, click on it, and just drag down. It'll bring this straight guide straight across, and I use that to just line up to make sure that all of his features were lined up, whether he was straight on or from the side, which is extremely important for character design. For it to be accurate, is you need to make sure that the proportions are correct from all angles. But yeah, that's so helpful. You can clear them out, the guides that is, you can clear them out. You can make sure that it's set so that your line work does not stick to the guides. There's a few settings like that you need to make sure are set the way you want so that they behave the way you want. But I love guidelines. I use them all the time to make sure that things are lining up the way that I want them to. I actually, in the last couple of pieces where I did that moth, I used the guidelines as well to make sure that everything was symmetrical. So yeah, they're definitely a really great tool for things like this, like character design. And now we're getting to the coloring comp phase. I love doing stuff like this. Color is a huge part of the character themselves, and I don't think that these four are necessarily the only ones I'm going to try out, but like I said, I would love to get your input on which ones you prefer. One thing that I kept in mind when I was doing these is that I wanted one main color and then a second subordinate type color. So for that first one, I envisioned blue as being that main color, and then pink that secondary color, and then I had several neutral shades. So I had his skin color and his pants and his there's like a black element in there. So for all of these, I had that main pop of color, that secondary pop of color, and then I had neutrals. And that's a great way to just create a very clean palette for a character, is to focus on which color is going to be most important and have the most presence in their design, and then which colors are going to be secondary. And having these secondary characters or secondary colors add a lot of interest to it, but it still has a very clean palette. And that is it for today's video. Like I said, this is the first part of a 3-part series. I will break those up so you'll see those in the next couple of weeks rather than all of my next 2 videos being this. So yeah, I'll be able to mix things up a little bit, and it'll give me a chance to think about this character a little bit and think about the possibilities and interesting things that I can add to him to really nail the character and the personality. So I like being able to think about him a little bit more than quickly cranking him out. I think it'll be a little bit more in tune with how I want to do the character designs for a graphic novel. I want to give it a little bit more thought. So yeah, don't forget to vote for your favorite color palette. I would love to know what you guys are thinking and see which one wins and which one is the least favorite. That's always interesting too. But yeah, thank you for your input if you give it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.